and speak with Kent Hovind on the other side. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report on this Thursday, July 23rd, report this Thursday, July 23rd, 2015. We are joined by our special guest, Mr. Kent Hovind. Many people have heard a lot about Kent from Coach Dave and other guests we've had on, advocating for his freedom and the injustices that have been perpetrated on Mr. Hovind, Dr. Hovind, to be correct. Kent, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Well, thank you, sir. It's good to be here.
Mr. Hovnd, Dr. Hovnd, we had so many people praying for your release. We had so many people who were really concerned about your welfare and safety when it seemed like your release was being purposely delayed. Now, I know our audience, 99.9% of our audience knows who you are. But if you don't mind, just kind of give us the Cliff Notes version of who you are and what the heck happened to you with respect to the incarceration. I mean, this is one of the greatest injustices I've ever seen, but coming from you, I think it would be much clearer. So go ahead, sir.
Okay, let's see. I'm 62 and a half. I was a high school science teacher for 15 years. Moved to Pensacola in 1989. Started a ministry called Creation Science Evangelism, speaking all over the world on dinosaurs and the Bible, defending the view that the Bible is scientifically accurate in every detail, and the earth is only 6,000 years old, and dinosaurs lived with man, and the idea that the evolution theory taught in our schools is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of planet Earth. And so I was traveling all over speaking on those topics. I did a lot of debates against atheists, over 100 of them. And then in 2006, my wife and I were both arrested for structuring, which we had never heard of. Taking your own money out of the bank in amounts less than $10,000 to pay your bills. And so we took it to trial, and my attorney said, don't even give a defense. This is crazy. There's no crime here. But the jury found us guilty, and they sent me to prison for 10-year sentence. I served almost 9 years in federal prison for structuring, taking money out of the bank in amounts less than $10,000. Last year, I think the IRS seized 150 some small business bank accounts for the same reason, and Congress needs to repeal that stupid law. Anyway, so that's I just got out 2 weeks ago, and I'm going back to speaking on dinosaurs and creation and defending the Bible, and hopefully building people's faith in God's Word. So that's
wow.
Still don't know for sure who targeted me or why, but if they want you, they'll get you.
Apparently.
Well, indeed. Go ahead.
If I can ask you, Dr. Hovind, being in prison, especially when you really haven't committed a crime, being falsely imprisoned, and all that time, and if I understand correct, you are a priest.
Well, no, a Baptist preacher.
A Baptist preacher, okay. That time in jail, did it help you with your study of the Bible? Did you get a chance to minister to others in prison, and how was the effects of that on the other inmates?
Yeah, a lot of the Bible, probably over half of the Bible, is written either from prison or captivity or by people who experienced one of those. God was really good. It was amazing. I don't wish to do it again, and I don't wish it on anybody else, but it was a wonderful time in many ways, a time of getting closer to the Lord, reading the Bible. I was able to hold Bible studies 4 times a day. I was in federal prison camps, which is really more like a college dormitory. About a little over a year of that time, I was moved all over the place, moved 30 times. They call it diesel therapy, but in the moving all over the place, I spent almost a year in the county jails. So those are the pits. But the rest of the time is, even in the county jail, though, the Bible studies are great. You can really have a great impact on people's lives.
Did you? I have to go back to when you were sentenced, and I know structuring that's really focused toward drug activity and money laundering activity. I mean, that's what that's for. But I'm really curious, and this is something I've wanted to ask you. Number one, when the verdict of guilty came in for structuring, Did that take you by surprise? And how did you and your family react to that? And how did your family adapt to your absence? And I know these sound like really softball questions, but man, I was putting myself in your shoes, and I don't know how well I'd fare, Dr. Hovnd. I don't know how well I'd do it.
Well, they also put my wife in prison for 9 months, and it's bizarre what they did. My kids are 36, 7, and 8, and they live right next door to me, and they all work in the ministry. They all love the Lord. My son Eric took over things and did a marvelous job, and his ministry is called creationtoday.org. You can go on there and see some of his stuff he's produced, and he's just doing a fabulous job. And I got 5 grandkids. Like I said, all live within 3 houses of me here. So, yeah, it was extremely difficult, but it was a great time for them to grow and to be tested, I guess. It tested everybody. I feel a lot like Job in the Bible. You know, it was quite a test. Now we'll see what God does to bring it all back. The family did fine. Okay,
all right. And we want to give you the ability just to say whatever you want to say. Go or take this interview. I mean, to me, it would be difficult to be held as I believe, a political prisoner really for 9 years. And I know you probably had to be careful of what you said and how you said it because, you know, of all the politics behind your persecution and prosecution. But so we want to give you free latitude to say whatever you want to say. But before that, let me, I, as an investigator by profession for the last 3 decades, I've seen some pretty great injustices, and I feel that yours is one of the most egregious. But having said that, who is behind this? I mean, who is behind your persecuting you? I mean, I mean persecuting who? Which agencies and which people? Can you name them, or would you prefer not to?
Oh, no. I'm real outspoken. I believe in telling the truth. Lois Lerner with the IRS is the one who really started this back when they were targeting conservative ministries, way before it was known that they were targeting conservative ministries. So they investigated for 9 years, couldn't find anything wrong, and finally arrested us for structuring, which I thought, you have got to be kidding. How can it possibly be against the law to take your own money out of your own bank in any amount to pay your bills? So,
right.
And there was simply no crime whatsoever. I did quite a few broadcasts from County Jail on Lone Star 1776 YouTube channel, where all kinds of information is up there about this case. And I really think it's a spiritual battle. My teaching on the Bible being scientifically accurate and the earth being 6,000 years old and God creating it, that drives some people absolutely crazy because there's really only 2 choices. Either there's a God or there isn't. Nobody's thought of a third choice. So if there's a God, then of course that means he would own the world. If he created it, it's his. It belongs to him, and he can make the rules. And some people don't like his rules, so they try to deny his existence with really bizarre arguments. I mean, the stuff they use to defend this evolution religion, it would be funny if it weren't so serious. The effect it has on kids is amazing. We teach them they're just an animal, and then we sit back and wonder, why are they acting like animals? Well, duh, look what you're teaching them. If you teach a kid he's made in God's image and he's going to answer to God one day for everything he says or does or thinks, he's more likely to be a little more careful of what he says, does, and thinks. So I've long taught that the evolution theory in our schools is not only dumb, it's dangerous, and it's the foundation for Nazism and communism and socialism and all kinds of problems. Today they're debating all kinds of issues, should we have gay marriage and what about abortion, and the list is on and on and on. But before you get into any of those arguments, you first have to decide, how do you decide? How do we decide what is right and wrong? Is right and wrong decided based upon majority opinion? Is right and wrong based on what Bill Clinton thinks or Barack Obama thinks? Who decides right and wrong? Is there an absolute standard someplace? I was in a debate in, I believe it was Canada, and this one student, atheist student, said, I asked him the question, how do you tell right from wrong? Because he claimed he was an atheist. I said, how do you tell right from wrong? He said, well, that's very simple. He said, I decide right and wrong because I'm the God of my own universe. I said, well, I'm glad to hear about that, son, because I'm going to shoot you in 5 minutes. He said, well, you can't do that. I said, well, sure I can. I'm the God of my own universe, and I decided it's fine for me to shoot you. And so, really, I've asked people all over the world, if they say they're an atheist or an evolutionist, I say, well, then I have a simple question. How do you tell right from wrong? And they can't answer it. If there's a God, then he tells us what's right and wrong. And the founders of this country 200 years ago said, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. They're endowed by their Creator with certain rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Where do the rights for life and liberty and happiness come from? Well, they come from the Creator. So if a person does not want to have a country be a free country where people can succeed or fail if they wish, if there are people in our country who would much prefer that we be communist or socialist, then of course you can't have them believing in creation. That goes directly against the political agenda that they have. So I think my teaching on creation is probably, I hope it is, a great hindrance to the folks who would like a new world order, a one world government, a communist-based philosophy running the country where we take from the rich and give to the poor, and which has never worked in any country it's been tried. Communism has never worked, ever. And Karl Marx, the founder of communism, read Darwin's book and said, wow, this is the perfect basis for our philosophy of communism. And it is. In every communist country, evolution is absolutely a critical teaching, because you can't have people believing in God, because then our rights would come from God, not government. So I think probably I was targeted, if at least one of the reasons might be because of the teaching that there's a God, and he owns the world, and he makes the rules. And he decides right and wrong, not Uncle Sam or anybody else. So I just suspect that's part of the reason. Okay?
Yeah, and I hope when in the future, when we have more time with you, we can get into this more, because I have a lot of questions that I'd love to hear your insight on, human authority versus heavenly authority, and how we got to the point of these human governments creating laws and becoming like gods. But we'll do that when we have more time. A question I'd like to ask you, Mr. Hovnd, is what plans do you have now that you're free? And what do you have coming up in the future? You got anything big coming up? You plan on just continuing to, provide your insight through interviews and your teachings on YouTube and at the church? Or do you have anything else in mind upcoming?
Well, thank you. The Bible teaches in 2 Peter chapter 3, and we have a website, 2peter3.com. That's the number 2, the word Peter, the number 3. Right now it links to, I think, another one called freekenthovind.com. But anyway, on there we talk a lot about this question. In 2 Peter chapter 3 in the Bible, it talks about in the last days, the scoffers who would be willingly ignorant of the creation, the flood, and the coming judgment. I traveled all over for 25 years teaching on the creation and the flood, and I give all the scientific videos on, how to explain the geology of the world, like Grand Canyon, with Noah's flood. Grand Canyon probably formed in a couple of weeks, not millions of years. And so, but I have not talked much about the coming judgment, the future of the world, according to the Bible. What's coming next? How's the world going to end? And so in prison, I did extensive study on this and spent 5 years writing a book called What on Earth is About to Happen, telling what the Bible says is the future of the world is. That's up on lulu.com. It's only as an ebook now. Lulu.com has What on Earth is About to Happen, for heaven's sake, with my name, Kent Hovind, Hovind. And that has really been well received because Christians and non-Christians alike, everybody's wondering, look, what's happening in America, in the world? It's falling apart. Everybody's nervous and scared. What on earth is going on? And what should we do about it? And so that's one of the books I wrote, or 37 books from prison, but that's one of them. that I spent more time on than anything else. I wrote another one about the prison system called The Kennel. I did that under a different name, Elijah Green, but that's also on Lulu, I believe. It's just a satire using a dog kennel to teach the stupidity of locking people up. And I'm embarrassed as a Christian for 46 years that I had to actually go to prison to realize the Bible does not authorize prison at all. In the Bible, under God's law, you would get a fine or a beating or executed for certain crimes. It was only the heathen, the Romans, the Egyptians, etc., that had prisons, and God's people suffered in them all the time. But God never authorizes locking anybody up at all, except for leprosy for 7 days to test and see if they're contagious, and if they are, they got to be banned from the community. So the whole concept of locking people up is silly. I've asked people all over as I've traveled. I've asked inmates in the prison. I say, now, if you were given an option of 5 years in prison or 20 lashes, which would you take? And they all say the 20 lashes. Okay, which would be cheaper for society? Well, 20 lashes. Which would be better for your family? Well, 20 lashes. Because when you go away for 5 years, what's your wife and kids supposed to do now? Almost everybody that goes to prison loses their marriage, loses their home, loses their job. Now what? It's insane what we're doing. America has a little over 4% of the world's population, but we have 26% of the world's prisoners. This is absolutely insane. I was amazed to find out when I was in Yazoo City, Mississippi, a couple of weeks ago, where they released me from, the property there, huge property where the federal prison is owned by the governor of Mississippi. He has a 99-year lease. He leases the land to the federal government. They built a prison there. And his son, Haley Barber Jr., is the chief judge in Jackson, Mississippi. Well, I think that would appear to most people like there's some kind of incentive to keep this thing full.
Kind of like the
quotas.
quotas.
Job security.
Sure. How can that not be a conflict of interest? I mean, hello.
Yeah, they've built these huge private prisons and created quotas in the range of 90% capacity. How could you guarantee a 90% capacity in a prison that's obviously based on the people and the crimes they may or may not commit? But when there's a quota involved, they're going to have to keep to their numbers and fill it, whether they're guilty or not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dr. Hovnd, I want to ask this question before above anything else. Okay, and this is a result of numerous emails I've received and what's on my heart, and having followed your case, and especially since Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer really took the tip of the spear, and I was at the tip of the spear in certain things, at least in my world. But here's my question to you. How can our audience, can our listeners, how can we as talk show hosts, what can we do for you? This had to really devastate. I know you've got books out. I understand that, but what can we as an audience do for you that would be helpful to you, that we can make you whole again to the best of our physical abilities? And what can we do for you?
Well, my goal for 46 years as a Christian has been to spread the truth of the Bible and the gospel to the world. And we've produced videotapes. They're in 40-some languages. They're up on creationtoday.org. Just look for my name, Kent Hovind, the Creation series. So I think the thing that brings the most joy to my heart is when I know other people are getting those tapes and giving them to their friends and getting the gospel out. So I would encourage people to do that. Spread the gospel through the videotapes. Ernie Land has been a longtime friend of mine, 26 years. He is a trustee of the ministry, and if I feel kind of like Job in Job chapter 40. They took away everything. Put me to prison for almost 9 years and seized all the ministry property, and I'm starting over with nothing at 62 and a half. But Colonel Sanders started at Kentucky Fried Chicken at 60, and he did pretty good. So. My goal has never been to make money and get rich. I live in a church parsonage and drive a church van, and we had 10 offices in my house for most of the time I was here. So anybody who knows me, ask my kids, money's the real low priority with me. However, it takes money to accomplish things. So usually a question like that involves, how can we help financially, which is certainly something that is needed. That would go to Ernie. His website is DocFog, D-O-C, like a document, in the fog, F-O-G, DocFog at docfog.com, and people can send money to him to get the ministry started again. My son's ministry is doing amazingly well. He's doing a 3D movie on Genesis that is going to be really amazing. They can see all that on creationtoday.org. But I think probably spreading the videotapes, and we have for 25 years that I've done this ministry, have left our videotapes uncopyrighted at first. We tell people, please copy it. But then some atheists were copying them and editing them, chopping them up and putting pieces together to make me say things I didn't say, which anybody with a good edit booth can do. And so we changed the policy and said, okay, they're copyrighted, but anybody can copy them if they're unedited and for free distribution only. Don't sell them. So if you get a set of those videos, my seminar is 18 hours long, and I cover everything. Dinosaurs, carbon dating, the Ice Age, how did the light from the stars get here, 40 scientific ways to prove the Earth is not billions of years old. I've got almost a 3-hour video just on lies in the textbooks. Now, video number 4, that's one of my favorite. Plus, we've got 20 debates that I've done against atheists that are on videotape or DVD. So people can get those and make 1,000 copies and spread them out to everybody because they have just an amazing impact on people. We get testimonies and letters. We've probably had 1 million letters, testimonies, calls, etc. from people say, wow, I just got one today. I got it in my hand here. A lady said, watching the videos changed her life. She was a drug addict, and I could read the whole thing. A lot of these videos or testimonies are posted various places. But to answer your question, if somebody wants to help financially, they should go to Ernie, DocFog at docfog.com. If they want to help spread the gospel, they should get the videos, and please do that. If they want to help my son get his 3D Genesis movie done, that's going to be amazing. They can go to creationtoday.org. If they want to spread the truth about this case, and there's some lady in the news now, Kate or something like that. They're trying to get Congress to pass a law and call it Kate's Law or something like that. I think if they can, they should do one called Kent's Law, where they repeal that stupid structuring law and make it retroactive. Not only should Congress repeal the law, they should say this is retroactive and you have to pay back the damages that you did. To lock a man up for 9 years for taking his own money out of his own bank to pay his own bills is stupid in anybody's book. And then to seize that money, perfectly lawful money, taken out, used in perfectly lawful ways, they said not only do you go to prison, all that money that was withdrawn 5 years earlier has to be forfeited to the government. I said, excuse me, that was spent on church ministry bills. It's gone. Well, you owe it. That's how bizarre this is. It's all up on Lone Star 1776.
That's insane.
Oh man. Okay. Are you? And you don't have to answer this, but I mean, is there a judgment or is there an active collection against you for reparations or what they term reparations for whatever you might owe?
Oh yeah, they try to milk me the rest of my life. Okay. It's unreal. So we'll see how that goes. Ernie can answer all those questions.
All right. Well, yeah, your message has to get out, and I know that you're short on time here. We're short on time because of the, I can only imagine, all the catching up you've got to do, and we want to respect your time. The recent news about the dinosaurs, the find about the soft tissue.
Recently there were dinosaur remains collected that still had tissues and actual flesh on them.
Well, I mean, I'm not even sure of the terminology, but did you see that where the story about dinosaurs and the having appearing younger?
Tissue. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, see,
go ahead.
In the Bible view, God made everything, in 6 days. That would mean dinosaurs and man were made together during those 6 days. And before the flood came in the days of Noah, the Bible teaches that man used to live to be more than 900 years old. Read Genesis chapter 5. Those guys are living over 900 years. And reptiles never stop growing. Most species of reptiles will never stop growing throughout their life. So If the reptiles before the flood could live to be 700 or 800 or 900 years old, they would get 60 feet long. Dinosaurs did not live millions of years ago. They were big lizards that lived with Adam and Eve. Noah would have taken them on the ark, probably babies. Just be sure to get a pink one and a blue one. And after the flood, people killed them. And there are legends all over the world, by the thousands, legends of people killing dragons. They were called dragons all through history until 1841, when a guy made up a brand new word, dinosaur, and stuck it in the dictionary. So it's the same animal. So yeah, to find dinosaur bones that still have soft tissue inside in the marrow, or even maybe soft tissue on the outside, I'm not sure. But that's perfectly logical, because they're only 4,400 years old when Noah's flood came. To say that these dinosaur bones have soft tissue and they've stayed soft for millions of years is, I think, real stupid, in my humble opinion. But they want so desperately to make them millions of years old. Roy Mackal was professor at the University of Chicago, biology professor. He went to the Congo swamp in Africa, where there were continual reports of living dinosaurs. I mean, small ones, 15, 20 feet long, living in the rivers, long neck, long tail, a brontosaurus, brachiosaurus, or a patasaurus. And the native, when he showed them pictures, I mean, these are naked natives running around the jungle that have never seen a TV, never read a book on evolution. And all they know is, that he would show them pictures of these animals. They'd say, oh, yeah, that's a crocodile, or whatever their name was, lives out in the river. When he showed them a hippopotamus, yeah, they could name that. When he showed them different animals that didn't live there, no, they've never seen that one. When he showed them the brontosaurus, which is everybody acts technically in a patasaurus, they'd say, oh, yeah, that's Mokele Mbembe. He lives out in the swamp, just like it's no big deal. He said, guys, these animals have been dead for 70 million years. And he said, well, we don't know anything about that. All we know is we see them out there once in a while. So Roy Mackal wrote a book on that. He said, folks, it's amazing. There are some dinosaurs still alive in Africa. And then he said, it's even more amazing they survived for 70 million years. He still doesn't get it. The Earth is not 70 million years old. Dinosaurs lived with man. They called them dragons. If there's a few still alive, like Loch Ness Monster or the various sightings around the world, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Okay?
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Well, okay. So, once again, being respectful of your time. Any closing comments? Anything that now you've got the ears of quite a few people, and the people who prayed for you, and people who are, just so happy as we are that you are a free man today. Anything that you want to say that perhaps other interviews you didn't say but wished you had, or anything that you'd like to tell our vast audience that
I want to thank all the people for praying and for writing letters. I got thousands of letters of encouragement. That was such a blessing. And there was a lot of pressure put on Congress and on the courts. I don't know that it did any good. You never know about that. But really, Congress started this problem with that stupid law. They should repeal it. All the laws about structuring. The whole purpose, or at least the cover story, was we're going to try to catch drug dealers. Come on. It didn't work. It catches all kinds of the wrong people. They should repeal the law and make it retroactive. And so I would encourage people to keep after Congress to do that. And I was amazed how many innocent people are in prison. They can lock people up for anything these days. So we've got to see massive reform. I would encourage people to contact their congressman and say, look, guys, let's pass a real simple law that says no one involved in law enforcement or in passing laws, that's legislators, no one involved in law enforcement in any way can own stock in or profit from the prison system in any way. They shouldn't own the land. They shouldn't own the garment companies producing the clothes. They shouldn't provide the food. I mean, it's double dipping in anybody's book. So that's a common sense 101. No, a transportation system. So yeah, I'm now going to be honest to see some changes made, because so many innocent people are in prison and so many families are hurting. But much more important than all of that is getting the gospel of Jesus Christ out. So if there's anyone in your listening audience that doesn't know where they're going when they die, I would encourage them to watch my videos on creationtoday.org. Just look for the Kent Hovind seminar series. At the end of it's How to Go to Heaven. Or you can watch them all on my YouTube channel, Kent Hovind. They can watch the videos right on there. Plus, I'm learning how to use this YouTube. Now, I can't believe the technical change. They brought the outhouse into the building, pulling the buggies around. I don't know what they did with the horses, but it's been a lot, and all this Skype stuff, and I'll slowly pick it up. But I'm doing videos on YouTube, Kent Hovind Official. Really my goal is to get everybody in the world converted to go to heaven. That's what I want. If there's anything that's important to me, that's probably the most.
Admirable.
Oh, are you still there? Did I lose?
Yep.
Yeah, you cut out here and there just
Okay.
briefly.
Thought I lost you there.
Yeah, we hear you good.
Yeah, admirable indeed, and that's really what it's all about, is saving souls, isn't it, Dr. Hovnd? I mean, that's what we need to do at this point.
Correct.
Dr.
Political change only lasts a short time. You need to change people's hearts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My friend, it sounds like we're losing you. With that, we will cut you loose. I just want to say thank you so much for being on our program.
And we look forward to having you on again.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like we're going to lose you anyway. So
Sounds great.
God bless you, my friend. You take care. Glad you're back. Glad you're safe. And know that we are continuing to pray for you and your ministry. And we'll spread the word.
Thank you. Keep up the great work. All right. Bye-bye.
Good night. Folks, we're going to take a short break, I think now.